Hi there. So what we're going to do now is start going through some product assessment. So it's one thing to come up with product ideas, but once you've got them, you really need to have a clear and concise way to get that quick, big picture of, is this going to be a good product or not? Now, we can't sit there and in 30 minutes find all the numbers we need to be able to assess that product. One of the things we'll need to do is go off and talk to suppliers to find out the cost of buying the product. That's obviously a really critical number in whether your product's going to be profitable. So there's always this one last outstanding thing to do with each product, which is to start getting quotes from different suppliers. But I leave that till last, because if your product isn't going to be successful based on other measures like the demand, or it's too competitive, then you wouldn't want to waste your time and energy just chasing quotes for products that aren't viable. So, what we're going to do is show you which tools. Let me just change something on my screen here. So I'm just going to show you which tools I use to assess my products and how I put relevant weightings or relative weightings on those findings that, as I do my research, the information I'm gathering up and the intelligence I gather up on each product idea. So I'm going to use a worked example because that's by far the easiest way to show how I do this really important step, assessing products. So let's get started with a keyword tool that I use that helps me find out the level of demand. And I use a tool called Merchant Words for this. So this is a very low cost tool. It's about $9 a month. I've got a coupon code available, and that brings the monthly cost down to just $9. And what I do is I type the keyword in to the top, press search, and this tool here, and this is the worked example we're going to look at, Orchid Potting Mix, just because I happen to have some in a pot plant in front of me on my desk, but I think it's actually quite a good product to demo, because you can see here that Merchant Words assesses this product to be the number of monthly searches per for this exact search term every month. So it's saying it's evergreen, so it's pretty steady demand around the year, and it tells you which category these products are mainly listed in. But this is the number I'm most interested in. So that's the first thing. This is validating that the product idea you had, the product fits all the other kind of niches and categories and things that you want to make work in a product. So now we're into that micro level of assessing it. It looks like there's plenty of demand. My first $1 million product had 10,000 searches a month, to give you some perspective. But I need to give you a very serious warning chat about using all of these tools, because I think the numbers run very high on these ones. So I don't think there's actually that many searches for that search term each month. I think they probably run a bit higher. But the thing I find really useful is that when I type in my top level keyword, Orchid Potting Mix, this tool generates all sorts of other data that I didn't even know existed. I didn't know that people would search for fine orchid potting mix or these different types of orchid. They obviously have pretty specialty products within this category. So I didn't know this because this isn't a world I'm in. Sometimes you see big brand names here like Better Grow. I don't know that brand because it's not an industry I know about. And you can see here the volume tails off pretty quickly. So as a rule of thumb, I like there to be maybe 30,000 searches a month on this column for the monthly search volume. So that's not a really hard and fast rule, but that's just sort of a rule of thumb. Sort of at least 30 searches a month is generally good. But we do want to validate that, because it's all very well for lots of people to search for that product, but I want to know that they actually then spend some money, because I don't want to list a product where people browse but never buy. So that's step one, Merchant Words assessing demand. And I will then go and just plug into my spreadsheet when I've done this research to show that for Orchid Potting Mix, it looks like there's really good, strong, steady demand for that exact keyword. So Orchid Potting Mix, I will now go and pop into my little spreadsheet, which I will show you now and show you what I put into here. In my demand column, I give the searches here a mark out of 30. So the way I assess a total product, I'll just run through this top line here. So out of 100 marks, so say a product, the perfect product's got 100%, it's got, a perfect product would have really high demand, zero competition, and be hugely profitable and nobody could ever copy it. That's the holy grail of products. That would be a 100% product. Absolutely perfect, the holy grail. And the way I add up my markers to get to 100% and the score that I'm giving each potential product, I weight it pretty evenly between, is there enough demand? How strong is the competition? How good do the numbers look? They get about 30% each. And then I also do this last 10%, which I call the X factor. So 30% for demand, 30% for the level of competition, 30% for the numbers, 10% for the X factor totals to be 100 marks. So for every product, I can give it a score out of 100. And for each new product, so for here I'll do Orchid Potting Mix as a product idea. I'll just do this very roughly. So I'll just do demand. I'll put, I can't remember what the number was, 140,000 I think. 141, I'll just keep it rough. So, and I would give that 30 out of 30. So I don't, fine tune it. I don't give them marks of 27.5 or anything. I kind of go, 30 is really solid. That's, plenty of demand. The competition will come to next. And the numbers we'll have a look at last. Oh, sorry, the X factor we'll look at last. But these are all out of a possible score of 30. So the demand looks good, but I do want to just go and double check that all those searches translate into actual sales. So the tool I do that through is called Helium 10. Now this one's not quite as cheap, but you also get to use it a little bit for free. They limit how much you can use it for free, but without signing up and subscribing to it, you can do a couple of searches a day. So what I use this one for is when I've got a product idea, Merchant Word says there's plenty of searching going on. I hop over to here and I'll show you this tool in a bit more detail in a moment, but they've got all these different clever tools within the total toolkit of Helium 10. And what I like is the ones I mainly use are this black box, which lets you research products. The trends finder is quite useful, but the keyword research is very useful. That's a little bit like Merchant Words as well, so it's good to compare both. The other one here, Cerebro, is a really handy tool because if you can see a best-selling product in a category, you can see what the search term is that customers have actually searched for before they buy that product. The keyword processor helps you make sure you've included all the relevant keywords. Scribbles helps you write a good listing. And then this is a tool that helps you track how your products are selling and how they're ranking, which is very useful once you're away selling, but later down the track. Alerts helps you spot if anything's going wonky with your products. So good little alert system there. And some of these other things, they're not essential at all, but there's some quite handy things there. If you're doing a launch, you don't want somebody doing a run with your discount coupon code on your inventory. Refund Genie just helps you with processing refunds to make sure Amazon reimburses everything that you should be reimbursed with. And then Misspellinator is just a funny little tool that catches all the times that customers type in a search term but misspell it. They kind of redirect those typos or misspelt search terms back to your product that they were actually looking for. So the main ones that really matter are being able to do good product research on what's selling and really understanding which keywords your products are relevant for your products. So the way I use this black box one, I just go into Marketplace and I go to this advanced filter and I put I don't use this tool to generate product ideas because when you do that, everybody else is using this same tool to generate the same product ideas and you'll end up turning up with a whole bunch of other people with the same product on the same time. And I see this all the time. I get big waves of people choosing the same products that I see because I talk to so many Amazon sellers. And they've often found those tools through a research tool, found those products through a research tool. So it's not a good strategy to use these tools to find products, in my view. I use it just to validate the product idea is at the kind of level of sales, the kind of level of competition that, and help me find the keywords that help me do a really good job of listing and launching my product. So if I type in here, Orchid Potting Mix, I want to see evidence that there's somebody making really good sales for that search term. So I'll pop that in. I'll leave all these filters open. I'll leave which category it's in open, all of that stuff. And I want to see who's making money. So this is going really fast today. Sometimes these tools can take a while because they're going into Amazon, scraping up loads of data, and then and then presenting it for us to look at. So I always sort this not by their default, but by monthly revenue, high to low. And there's lots and lots of fancy things you can do here, but really I just want evidence that somebody's making good income from that search term. And at this stage, I don't know their profit margin. I don't know what the cost of the product is, but I like to see that the top line of sales is strong for those top sellers. So anything over $5,000 a month, I'm happy to go with. If I know that I'm making a 30% margin and it's a low competition product, and in half a day's work, I can choose a product, brief a designer, find a supplier, whatever it takes, maybe half a day to do all of that. Once I've got a good product idea, then that can lead to a few $1,000s profit every single month, ongoing. So easy passive income when you find these products, and the lower the competition, the less ongoing work, and generally the lower the competition, the better your profit margin too. So I really like that this tool gives you a little picture of the image. It tells you lots of the facts and figures about the product. So it tells you which category it's in, it tells you the brand name, it tells you who the seller is, whether it's fulfilled by Amazon or fulfilled by the merchant themselves, what the size is, how many images they've got on their listing, have they got variations of size or color or type, the weight, the dimensions, the storage fees, and how long that product's been there. So you can see here there's 6 sellers of this product, which is not great. You really want to choose a product. When you do your product, you'll only have one seller. You'll be the only person with the rights to sell your product. And I like here you've got the price. So I like products that are slightly higher priced than this. So I prefer to be in the sort of the 30s and maybe the 20s. But teens gets a bit tight with fees because you can see the Amazon Fba fees. We'll look those up in a minute. They're pretty much a third of your sell price, so it just makes the margins very tight on the lower products, just because there's a couple of flat fees if the price is low that eat too much into the margin, and you just have to make so many more sales when the price is low. So here we've got the number of units sold each month, making the monthly revenue for this product a very healthy $37,500 every month. So they've got 60 reviews on this product. They're really high scoring reviews. So I would say that's kind of looking like kind of medium competition. This isn't going to attract the really aggressive big internet marketers who are just out there with deep pockets, hoovering up all the big volume opportunities. This isn't going to really attract a lot of copycats and really aggressive sellers. This is like the kind of sweet spot, I think, for monthly incomes, really healthy. That could be easily $10,000 or $15,000 or more profit every single month. If they're running it efficiently in the back end. And I don't worry too much about the sales trends and how seasonal it is. That's fine. I sometimes go in when I'm about to place the order and start reading these reviews on the Amazon listing, and that gives you a bit more intelligence about what people like and don't like about this brand. So even though it's the potting mix for orchid lovers, I like how they've put a picture of an orchid on the product. So there's obviously no orchids involved here, it's just the mix. But people who love orchids, their hearts will sing when they see a picture of their favourite flower. So this is a great product where it's for a really passionate niche, and it's quite a sort of a wealthy demographic that probably cares a lot about their orchids. So there's a lot of good things going about with this. There's probably some repeat purchases. Maybe you can do an orchid fertilizer or some nice pots to put them in. Selling the live plants would be tricky, but there's all sorts of little clips that go on the stakes. I mean, this is definitely something you could build a brand around. So that's the top product, healthy demand. So of the 141,000 searches, these guys seem to be getting quite a good number of sales. And it's looking pretty solid. So I would go back to my spreadsheet and just confirm that's top seller gets 37k monthly sales. And I'll just keep reference for this for later, because at the end of this, I'm going to be able to give my product a mark out of 100. And at the moment, I'm not sure what that's going to be, but we're up to 30 already for the demand being enough and seeing evidence that that demand really happens and turns into a sale. So now we want to go and have a look at the level of competition. So say Orchid Potting Mix is still looking pretty interesting. What I'll do now is go over to Amazon and do a search for Orchid Potting Mix. So I need to make sure that the delivery address is to New Zealand. Sorry, not to New Zealand, but to a US address. And then I don't miss anyone out. Then also what I do is just make sure I haven't got any filters. So it's going to all categories. It's really important you change this to a US address, otherwise you get all sorts of filters applied. If the seller hasn't set it up to ship internationally, then your research results will miss out a load of your competition. So you want it set for global shipping to the US. You don't want to filter by category, you just want to put that search term in and see what comes up on page 1. So let me show you what's important to look at when you're scanning this page of results. So you can see Amazon's promoting some of their own products up on this top banner, which is great. When you start typing in Orchid Potting Mix, they will have started suggesting all the things that I might have also been looking for. So as I started type, I'll start at the very beginning again. So if I go Orchid Potting Mix, I don't want Oral B replacement heads. So the top selling product that starts with Orchid, according to Amazon's best guess, is that I'm most likely at this point to be looking for Orchid Potting Mix. They're trying to make it helpful for me as a customer. But there's other products here: Orchid Fertilizer, Orchid Food, Orchid Pot, Orchids on their own, Orchid Pot with Holes, Orchid Plants Live, Orchid Moss, Orchid Clips, Orchid Soil. So people searching for potting mix might also really want orchid soil. They probably need fertilizer and food as well. They might already have a pot, but they might not. They might want a nice one, or they might want to cover the top of their pot with some nice moss. So this is where one product can lead to a whole brand and a nice range of related products. So I'm feeling pretty good about this so far. There's lots of product potential to scale and expand beyond having just one single product. So I'll go with Orchid Potting Mix, see what comes up. So in the top sponsored ad bar here, you can see that this brand Deco Blooms has got some nice colourful pretty pictures, and not with huge number of reviews, single figures of reviews for a couple of them. Quite nicely presented. That packaging's quite interesting. And then what we start doing is scrolling down, seeing who else is selling products. So here, this bar, this top line here is all sponsored ads as well. So we can sort of take note of these, and also, this is the brand we were just looking at over in Helium 10. So over there it said 60 reviews, that's now gone up to 74. So you can see that these tools can often be out, and you really want to check your data from as many different places as possible. I would also order this product myself, just to kind of get a comparison of, is this very different from that, and what's in this one that you can't really see inside the pack. It's very cheap, but it's got bad reviews, so I'm interested in what's going on there. It's the same pack size. Their packaging doesn't look very 3D or anything, it's just 2D design file by the looks of things. It's a third of the price less. Repot Me, Amazon has put ahead in the sponsored ads. So these are all just starting to get this high level picture of what's working on Amazon in this potting mix game. So 3 in bags, 1 in a box. The one that's got the picture of the orchid was the one that, according to Helium 10's doing pretty solid sales, 37,500 a month. So that's good. These guys have got high reviews, but I'd actually go and start reading them. They're really strong reviews. These guys have got terrible reviews, so I'd want to read those. These guys have hardly got any. These might be a new player. These guys, again, have got really good results. So I'll have a look at the next row. So here's Amazon's choice. So Amazon gives this badge for them recommending that this is the most likely product that you would want to buy, according to them. It really boosts your sales when you get this badge, and there's a whole strategy around when you launch, making sure you get this badge from Amazon for your product. It really helps customers trust your brand. So that's the one that's doing best, where you can see the potting mix. And interestingly, these are the big sort of mainstream looking brands. These are the kind you could imagine in a garden centre, and they've got a lot more reviews. And this is ridiculously cheap. I don't know what's going on there. $7.60 for $6 something. They aren't getting the Amazon's Choice badge or showing up in that Helium 10. So they're definitely Orchid Potting Mix. It's definitely a relevant product, but Amazon's picked this one. And the reason is probably partly because Amazon makes their fees and their income through their fees on us selling our products on their platform. So Amazon gets, $4 or so out of selling this product. Every time this product sold to a customer, Amazon makes $4 or $5. They have to deliver it, but that's a really big part of their income. And when Amazon sees a sale of this, they make hardly anything. So that's quite interesting. Further down on page 1, we've got 2 more from that same brand. Here's a different way of presenting it, just like a heap. Same sort of price, half the number of reviews. Comes in still on page 1, but quite low down, or sort of middle of page 1. I thought that one looked quite good in the sponsored ads bar up at the top. It looked like it was not going to be tricky to... It's a nice combination of showing how it's packaged and what the product inside looks like. I do quite like see-through packaging. This one gets the really bad reviews. I'm quite intrigued now why it gets such bad reviews. Miracle Grow sounds like a big brand. There's a slightly bigger pack size. Very cheap though, so maybe this is going to be too cheap, but I'm interested why this brand can charge $15. And I don't know 4 quarts, I'm not sure how big that is. We don't do quarts in New Zealand, so I'll have to do a bit of research. It's not a product I know. But I like this potential to do lots of really simple, cheap, free gifts. So if somebody here is selling a 4-pack of these plant pots with holes in for $12, these must be super cheap, and maybe that's another product. So sometimes you're researching product number 1, you see something else come up in your research, either it's on the list of products in merchant words, it's something else that ranks for that keyword over in Helium 10, or it's on Amazon auto-completing. You see the idea of orchid food or fertilizer rather than the potting mix. Or when you're actually on the Amazon search results, you see other products pop up that weren't quite what you were looking for, but maybe that's a better product. So maybe clay pebbles can be used for aquaculture and hydroponics and orchids, and maybe that's a more versatile product with a bigger potential market. Bit cheap, don't like the price point too much. Obviously been around a little bit if they've got 190 reviews, but maybe that's an interesting product to look at as well. So one thing I like with a product is the ability to have a free gift with it and a point of difference in the marketplace. So when you've got something like somebody buying potting mix, then they might need pots, or they might need stakes, or they might need clips, or they might need a little sachet of food. All those sorts of things could be really relevant but really valuable and thoughtful free gifts or bundles to bulk up the price and the attractiveness of your product. So these plant food spikes for orchids look like a great way to help people who care about orchids look after their orchids. One other thing, just as a note, when I searched orchid potting mix, if this was a really competitive category, I would have pages and pages of great looking listings. They'd all have probably triple figures of reviews, not doubles. So they'd all be, hundreds, if not thousands of reviews. All the listings would have really high quality images, and there'd be lots of reviews on all of them. So you can see here on page 1, there's something with a very low number of reviews and really low quality reviews has made it onto page 1. This isn't even relevant. Well, it's kind of relevant, but it's not exactly what I searched for, and it's made it onto page 1. This shouldn't really be on page 1 of search results. If there was so much competition for a product search term like orchid potting mix, these things wouldn't come up. So this makes me happy. This means there's an opportunity for more orchid potting mix on page 1. And from Helium 10, it looked like that big brand Perfect Plants was getting a lot of the sales, but the next few in the list were sort of way down. So Miracle Grow's only doing 4,000, Nature's Best's doing less than 3,000. So it tails off really fast. But if I got just half of their sales, I'd be very happy with that. That's, totally worth having as a source of income. With these lower competition, lower volume products, you do need to have more than 1 or 2 products. You probably want to build up to 5 or maybe 10, not all straight away, but that means you've got a much more robust business, far more sources of income, more diversification in your portfolio of products. And it means that you don't need to look for these, 100K a month products. You can do much smaller volume with nice healthy margins, and it all adds up to the same total amount, but you just have far less drama and competition and intense bidding for keywords and all that kind of thing. Low competition is what you want. You want to be able to get on to page 1 early on. Otherwise, you're really just having to launch and advertise and promote and compete on price to get the volume of sales that you need. And then you end up not with enough margin, and it's just really tough. Whereas a low competition product, you can get onto page 1, You can have a really good conversion rate because your competition's not got as good an offer or as good a listing as you. And you don't need to be in business for 3 years to catch up on the number of reviews. That's all quite achievable. So I won't go too much into reviews today, but it is a useful proxy for how competitive a product is, how long it's been around, and also it gives you really good intelligence about what people like or don't like about your competition. So I just want to see the name of that second one. So this one hasn't come up yet. I haven't seen this coconut coir fibre mulch. But that could be an interesting product. It's obviously relevant for orchids, but it could be relevant for a lot of other products. Just happens to not be making huge volume of sales, but it's a good price point. So I'm interested in things that have a nice high price like that and low reviews. So there's the Miracle Grow doing 4,000. Here's the Nature's Best doing 3,000. Here's the one that I thought looked quite nice on page 1. Repot Me is only doing 2,500 with only 5 reviews. So there's a lot to weigh up and consider here, and it's very hard to teach because with experience you'll start to get a feel for things like, that said 72 reviews there, and over here that Repot Me, I think it's, oh, that's an all-purpose one, it says 5 reviews. So you've just got to watch these tools. They're not always totally accurate. It's all just helping you build a picture, not absolute data that's 100% guaranteed to be accurate. So let's come back over to our Amazon page. So I would consider this to be a medium to low competition product. And the reason is there's low reviews, low number of reviews and low quality reviews making it onto page 1. You've got to make sure you ignore the sponsored ads line there because that's people just paying to come up on page 1. You want these organic search results, so that starts here. So Sunbulb comes up first, Amazon's Choice is their second, third, fourth. So this would be, I would say, low to medium competition. There's a few big brands, but there's some kind of brands that could be from anyone. Like this could be anybody at all. That's not a big household name, I'm sure. Very cheap, basic packaging with 3 reviews on page 1 with a $25 product. So that kind of is encouraging. It means that there's an opportunity to get onto page 1 because apart from this one, 3 out of this row aren't the product we were even looking for. So irrelevant search results is an indicator of low competition. So here's some pots, some black gold. That packaging looks very kind of fake, low reviews, but on page 1, here's the Repot Me. Oh, there's the all-purpose one. So that's the one doing $5,000 a month. So there's different colours. This one's quite light, this one's quite dark. Here's some food. So it might be that we have a look at this, but also have a look at orchid moss, orchid plant food, orchid fertiliser, some other orchid accessories, and some of those, the numbers actually might come out better. So if we just went into black box and didn't do orchid potting mix, but just did all of orchids, and the same over here with not just orchid potting mix, but all of orchids. When you go back to that STEM keyword, you often get products that you hadn't even thought of. So we started with potting mix at 141, but actually orchid food is higher, orchid fertiliser is higher again, orchid pots way higher again, so like almost double. So maybe orchid pots is the opportunity. So then we go and do that same process to see what's actually making sales. But you often find the best products sort of on the second wave of research. It's not the the first idea you have for a product might not be the winning product. It's the I'm just going to put that kitchen garden one in because there's lots of things that are coloured, the colour of orchid, like water bottles or something I saw there. But yeah, you often find your product off to the side when you're researching your first opportunity. So here we go, 146,000 in sales, 30 reviews, nice price point, simple product, £3. So their shipping and handling will be a reasonable cost there. That's a big pack size, but that's a great price. Low reviews, super. Clay pebbles, useful for all sorts of things. So that was on that search results page for the orchid potting mix. It came up on that page even though it wasn't quite what I'd been looking for, but look how much they're making a month. 90,000 in sales, 190 reviews, not 5 out of 5. There's a bit of opportunity there for improvement of some sort. So that could be really interesting because you're not just selling this to orchid lovers, you're selling it to people with hydroponics and aquaponics and aquaculture, so that's really interesting. Here, these pots, $60 for 8-inch heavy duty, $84,000. Not that many reviews, a lot, but not ridiculous. And they're probably a very simple product to source. Nobody's going to, get into big trouble because, the pot's not, what they see is exactly what they get. This is such a low risk product and for a passionate crowd. So now the thing is, I'm just using this as a demo product. I didn't actually think it was going to turn out quite this attractive. The numbers here look really good. I would go ahead with this, but because I'm using it as a demo product, don't go ahead and do it, because lots of other people are seeing this training, and if you all go and do it, it'll be a disaster. So this is to teach you the process and how I look for products. So I had one product idea, Orchid Potting Mix, because it was on my desk in front of me. And here we go, Orchid Food or Orchid Pots look like a fantastic opportunity. So it's through the research process that scans and scoops up the data that you get these new product ideas that are even better than where you started. So here's the one we saw before. That's organic as well, so I always like an organic product because it's a reason to charge a bit more and makes your product harder to copy. It's not the basic commodity version, it's a high-end offer. We've got here some plant foods, some spikes for 100 capsules for fertilizer spikes. That's interesting. That might not just be for orchids, that could be for other flowers too. $35,000 a month, or 34. A few hundred reviews, nice price point, one seller. That's the kind of thing that looks pretty good. Some more pots. The pots are quite hard to have a point of difference with. They all look the same. They could all be from the same manufacturer. So I wouldn't do the pot inners, apart from maybe as a free gift. I would do something like this though. There's another listing, so another 25,000. So that's pretty interesting. So I'll come back over to my spreadsheet. And so the demand was 30 out of 30. I think the competition, because the competition is low, I think I'd put low, medium. I'd give that 30, but I'd now also, so this sheet I'd call, but now I'll do another one called Orchid Food. And that one would be demand. So I hope you can see there's a method to my madness here. So orchid, let's do orchid fertilizer, just because this is a sort of just a training exercise. 182,000 for fertilizer. Do a Z for you Americans, but we would spell that with an S in New Zealand. So demand was 170, was it? 182 for fertilizer. And we saw evidence of that over on Helium 10. So that's from Merchant Words. And then Helium 10 Orchid Food. Oh, sorry, fertilizer. Was 146,000. Happy days. So actually orchid food and fertilizer, there's going to be a bit of overlap there with people actually wanting the same thing but using a different search term. So it's possible that your total demand is actually that plus that. So, few 100,000 searches a month easily. Could be for nearly 500,000 searches a month. If you added up all these different related products, which is actually what the customer's looking for. So this is looking pretty healthy. Lots of searching, lots of sales. So at least, well, I'll put these the wrong way around. Helium 10, what was it? 146, was it? 146, at least for the top seller, and 30 reviews. So that's awesome. I'll just do a $, XK. And that's just the top seller. That's not, some weighted average. But overall, I'm pretty solid. There's plenty of demand and plenty of people making good sales. So the level of competition, some fast typing but bad typing, even worse. So the competition, I would say, let's just go back over to Amazon and do that again. So we didn't do a search for that exact search term. Let's see which one Amazon thinks is more popular beginning with F. Could be fertilizer, could be food. They think fertilizer above food. Merchant Words thought fertilizer above food too. Cool. So in that spellinator thing over on Black Box, they would probably pick up the people from UK or Australia or New Zealand who would spell that with an S, not a Z or a Z. So here we go, we're getting more granular with our granules, seeing levels of types of orchid fertilizer below that stem keyword. So I'm going to pop that in and just see what comes up. So there's that same company advertising quite aggressively there, because they're actually selling the plants, not all the accessories. So here's a liquid one. Some spikes. Spikes sound more convenient than liquid to me. Price point on these is better than those. There's that big brand Miracle Grow. Repot Me seems to be getting well established. Good price point. Not very nice packaging though. Doesn't even look straight. Looks pretty cheap and nasty. Here's a trigger bottle thing. Plant Food Mist. Spikes is getting the Amazon's Choice badge, but so cheap. So we want something a bit more expensive. We want something like this. You know, this is the one that was doing serious sales according to Helium 10. That was 146,000 a month. £1.25, $13. A little bit cheap, but you know, there's always some trade-off. The perfect product gets 100% on every, you know, when you add up all the scores, but we'll have a look at the numbers in a moment. So that's definitely the top selling one. Is that the same? Just want to check we've got exactly the same product. So that says $23. Maybe that's a bigger pack size. £3 is $23. That's 1.25. So there's going to be another pack size here, which I'm surprised hasn't come up higher. Oh, here we go. A blue one. That's pretty fancy. So there's different splits of whatever the minerals or whatever in the fertilizer here. So 6, 30, 30, and this is 20, 20, 20. I have no idea what that means, but this is stuff you'd have to research. But this is the top seller one. It's sort of in the middle of page one. Orchid Mist looks like very home done packaging. That looks like a private label seller to me. High price though. Good reviews. I'd read those reviews. Growth Technology. This has only got 5 left in stock with more on the way, so that's good. Like, this is a seller who's not even keeping up with demand, making that much in sales. That packaging looks like it would be annoying to use. It looks like it would all sort of float out and get in the way when you're opening it. The spikes look very easy to use. So I'm starting to think, like, what would customers actually choose? Would they choose that horrible looking packaging? Or would they go for a mist? Or would they go for that tub that you could sort of scoop out but reseal? There's a trigger bottle thing. There's quite kind of medicinal looking things. It's something this man's drinking. Plant vitamin solution. Includes kelp, so maybe kelp fertilizer is another search term. Oh, here we go, liquid organic liquid kelp. So you can see that it's a bit of a rabbit hole. You dive down and you've got to just keep an open mind and gather up ideas at this stage. You don't want to be trying to do all the number crunching and detailed assessment before you've got lots of ideas, but that's interesting packaging. Orchid loves see-through and kind of floating with the shadow. That looks a bit like a private label seller to me, not a big brand. That packaging looks strange. And here's some relevant things. So there's definitely a few options out there. I would say this is higher competition than the Orchid food search results. There are some irrelevant things coming up. You know, there's moss and there's pots. The number of reviews is definitely a bit higher, I think, across the board here. Let's go back to the top. So single figures of reviews means low competition. Irrelevant results means low competition. Double figures of reviews are starting to get a bit more serious. The quality of everyone's packaging starts to give you a bit of a feel for how serious the other players are. So I'd say these are all very professional big brands. Everything's done really nicely. I don't personally love this packaging, but it seems to be the one that's selling, so who am I to argue? These all look quite professional, you know, pretty solid reviews. So this is definitely more like a medium competition opportunity. The food was low, but then again, the top seller was making 37,000 a month in sales. This is medium competition, but you're chasing hundreds of thousands of sales a month. So I would probably go for this one rather than the food. Low competition's good, but you just want maybe a bit more action and a bit more opportunity. So here there's still, new sellers, small number of listings. I like that there's lots of kind of variety of how this fertilizer is presented. So there's liquid stuff, there's sachets, there's drops, there's spray bottles. There's no one uniform thing, whereas like the orchid pots, they're all the same. This has definitely got potential for you to do your own distinctive branding and package it and deliver the product in an interesting way, because you do need to be able to stand out. So this kind of things like this coming up that are a fertilizer with low reviews. I don't love the price. This would be my biggest thing that makes me nervous about this opportunity, just that there's a lot of very cheap products that are also bulky, like £8 for $16 something is a lot of volume and weight to be shipping around and to buy for that much in sales. That's quite nice, interesting packaging. That looks really nicely done. That's terrible photography. So I would say this is probably medium competition. So I would say medium. Oops. And so instead of giving that 30 out of 30 if it had been really low competition, I'll give this, say, 15 out of 30. And then we'll have a look at the numbers. So this is, I'm going to just jot them down here for you so you've got them. We'd have the sale price. That's one important number. In fact, I think I had these in the front sheet, didn't I? So you've got the sale price. You've got the FBA fees. So that's something we can look up on a tool called the FBA calculator. We've got the cost of goods, which you need to know only from a supplier. You can't just go and look that up instantly. But you need to know how much it costs to buy the product so that you can work out your margin. So if your margin's sort of 20 or 30%, then that's great, and I would, give this a really high score for the numbers. You also need to know the cost of launching the product. So if it's a low cost to launch it, you only need to order 100 units and the shipping's not much, then that's great. That's a real advantage. The volume as well is an important number. So with the orchid fertilizer, the sale price is a bit low. Cost of goods, we don't know yet. The volume looks really good. Plenty of people making lots of money. The margin we can only work out once we know the sale price minus the cost of goods. Another number that's affected by competition is when you pay for advertising on Amazon. You could see on the orchid search terms there were quite a few companies advertising, and they were coming up as sponsored listings. The more serious competitors you've got, the more you've got to pay as another expense in advertising, those pay-per-click ads. So I don't count that twice. I would just sort of take account of the advertising costs over here in this competition line. So sale price is a bit low, cost of goods we don't know, volume look great, margin we don't know, launch cost we don't know yet. What else do we not know? Minimum order quantity, so that's linked to the launch cost. But I mean, if you've got to send something by sea, then your launch cost's going to be high because you've got to do a big shipment. If your product's already in the States, then your launch cost's generally a lot lower because there's no shipping. All those things affect the cost of getting into this game. The MOQ is one number about the number of units that your supplier is going to make you place in your first order. The lower the better, obviously. And so the numbers is a bit of a wash up of all these factors: the cost of getting started, the volume once you get going, and then the margin once you get going. So I can't really answer that until I've gone out to some suppliers and asked for details on the cost of goods and the minimum orders. So once I've got those, I can start to kind of work out roughly whether this is going to be out of the possible 30, whether I would give that 30 marks out of 30 because the numbers look phenomenal. There's a really low cost to launch. The cost of goods is really low. And they've got some sitting around in the States and they'll offer free shipping. Quite a lot of my suppliers now give me free shipping and an exclusive deal. So let's just make up a number here because we want to, pretend we've gone off, contacted suppliers, got quotes. So say it comes back, the cost of goods is, going to give us a nice margin of, say, 20%. It's not a 40% margin product, but it's fine. The minimum order's under $2,000. That's always great. And the cost of shipping and stuff wasn't too bad because it's, we're going to do the drops or the spikes, not the great big sacks of stuff. So let's give that sort of a middling mark, say maybe 15 rather than the full 30. And then let's have a look at this X factor. So this is where it's some more of the softer measures that are often come down to being based on experience. I only give this a weighting of 10 out of 100. So the highest possible kind of points that could sway my product assessment score, it's only 10 out of 100, but it can really help if other things are all looking pretty similar, help you feel confident to give that product the go-ahead if it scores highly on the X factor. So some of the things that I would give a high score on the X Factor are: your supplier will give you exclusive supply, so they won't sell to other Amazon sellers. Knowing the market, so knowing the type of customers that buy that type of product, knowing what they're thinking about, what kind of considerations the customers have got, who the big brands are, what you buy yourself, what's worked for you. So it might be that you even know the supply chain. So maybe where you live in an area where this product's produced, or you've worked in this industry before, or it's sourced in a country that you live in, but it's not a common product in the market you're selling. So some sort of unfair advantage over here with your knowledge of the market or the supply chain. Using the product yourself is good. Brand potential as well. So with the orchids, I could see a whole line of pots and mixers and mosses and fertilizers and sprays and all the things that orchid lovers want. I could see you could definitely build a really nice brand under one umbrella brand name, lots of different related products. And some of those products might be sold to aquaculture people, but they could all be under one brand. The ability to provide useful information products as well is good. Something like a guide to managing your orchid through the seasons, or something to do with the optimum nutrition for your orchids. Consumables are good, so any product that when it's been used up, you need to come back and buy more. So fertilizers obviously in that category, but pots might not be. Low drama is good, so I really like products where I'm not going to lose sleep at night worried about being sued or somebody drowning using my product, or any of those really big, scary, risky things with certain categories of products. I like to keep away from them. So Siri thinks I'm talking to her. I'm not. Low drama is good. No stress, simple products, low risk products. I want to just be very relaxed and just focused on the commercial side of the business, not any kind of legal risks. Now, this is a funny one. ASMers won't touch. So as you know, there's a very big course out there, Amazing Selling Machine, and they have a bunch of criteria that they teach, helping people choose their first product. So that's great. It's a great course. It helps people get off to a good, fast start and really understand how Amazon works. But because so many people have done that course, what it means is the bunch of criteria that a product that would fit all those criteria, there's a really good chance a lot of other people have looked at selling it on Amazon. So a lot of things like water bottles, especially anything that they've used as a demo. So if people who've done the ASM course would think a product's a great Amazon product, I tend not to do it. And I love the products that somebody would never do if they're following one of those big courses. So if the big courses say do small and light, I quite like a product that's oversized. If they say do something that's indestructible, I quite like something fragile and it's packaged well. So that's often been a real winning thing for me. Products that aren't obvious to the other mainstream sellers. So I talk about that quite a lot in other parts of my full program, about sort of where I like to head on Amazon and the kinds of products. But that's just sort of just to explain that line. The mainstream approach and teaching points people towards a particular type of product, and they can often be more competitive. And if you go outside of those criteria, there's often much, much lower competition. I really like handmade. I really like grocery category because it seems to be low competition at the moment. I like it when there's a good story about the product, where it comes from, how it's made, who makes it, who it's supporting. Organic or fair trade's good. If the brand can be done in a really premium way, that's great. So the Orchid Mix definitely could be, but something like something that's really cheap and basic. I can't even think of an example. Everything I'm looking at around the room could be done in a premium way, but just knowing that you could do a really classy job of the packaging and branding. If you support a charitable cause, or there's something kind of related to that good story, but instead of it being where the product's from, maybe a percentage of the product goes to a particular charity that's relevant. So a dog product might give to a dog shelter or something. Photogenic products are always really good because you have to stand out on the page. So orchids are beautiful, they're purple, they're really eye-catching. Good ability to hook into Facebook communities is good as well. So there's bound to be pages of people that love orchids on Facebook, and they're easy to identify, which means you can either approach the group owners and talk to that audience directly, or you can run Facebook ads to people who've identified themselves as orchid lovers, which is very targeted advertising and good to do. And a bit related to that as well, if there's other influencers who are the thought leaders in the world of orchids, or people that run gardening YouTube channels, those sorts of people, people, you know, doing pot plant inspiration Instagram pages, all that sort of crowd. You know, you could go and approach them, do a bit of a deal, match up your product with their audience. That's a great way to get going on Amazon. Restricted categories I really like, because there's a bit more of a barrier to entry and a bit more protection behind you of people coming up and quickly copying you. Products that you either feel passionate about yourself or you know your customers would feel passionate about. So people are definitely passionate about orchids, but they're not totally excited about, I don't know, actually most people, something, you know, there's always people, some group of people keen about most products, but you know, the more utilitarian and boring, the less excited people could feel about kitchen paper towels or something. And then gut feel is just whether you feel like it's quite an exciting product. It's a feel-good factor. There's something, you know, that's just kind of interesting about the product and how it's made, or the kind of people that would buy it, or the potential to scale it, or just talking with the supplier. You've just kind of got a feeling that, you know, this is great in retail, it's great in other markets, but nobody's brought it to Amazon yet. And you've just got that sort of excited, oh, this feels like a good one. So that kind of comes over time. And I really trust my instincts now on that kind of gut feel bit. So I do these number crunching bits, but over time, you'll rely less on these numbers and more on, you know, how strong is your advantage with this product. So those X factor things with the orchid fertilizer, that gets a really high score. That would be, you know, probably an 8 out of 10, because without having talked to the suppliers, obviously, it's for a wealthy demographic. It's a consumable, it's premium, it's small and light. The pricing's not fab, but you know, it's decent. There's plenty of action there. There's lots of variability in how those page one of products looks. There's definitely ability to do a good, interesting private label brand. Yeah, so I think that looks pretty good. So if we add all those up, we get 68 out of 100. So not bad at all. And I've never had anything in the 90s, frankly. You know, I'm pretty hard on scoring these, but that helps me just weigh up, is there enough demand? How tough's the competition? How good do the numbers look? An accountant would probably start with this, but I don't. And then just that sort of touchy-feely, softer stuff around how exciting is this opportunity? How much of an unfair advantage have you got? Because if you've got a real advantage and it's hard for people to copy you, or it's not going to be obvious to other sellers for a long time, that could be years of running with great margins, with no competition, just a really easy win. And you want those slam dunk products. So that one's probably the most interesting column to work through. These others are just sort of a bit of online research. And I can give you a link for Helium 10 that gets you a discount code. The numbers you can look up, all of that's for free. That's just straight off Amazon, looking at the sale price, cost of goods you get from potential suppliers. All these other things are just, the Fba fees, that should be on there as well. That's from the free Fba calculator. Competition's just your assessment of low, medium and high competition. I actually pulled up some other ones before to show you as well what low, medium and high competition looks like. So I did beeswax wraps here to show you what high competition looks like. So high competition looks like really pretty images, loads of reviews, you know, nearly 1,000 reviews, great photography, lots of sponsored ads. Actually, those have got too low volume. Oh, they're sponsored, sorry. So ignore the number of reviews and sponsored ads. That could just be newcomers launching hard. But, you know, up here there's 958. Everybody's done a very professional job. The listing quality looks really high. There's bundles and combos. There's, you know, hundreds of reviews, pages and pages of really good looking listings. Some lower volumes. Oh, they're sponsored again, sorry. Still some lower volume of reviews, but just, I can't think how I could do a better job than these other sellers. There's just so many of them and they're all doing a really nice job. Don't know how that got in there. Crazy. Yeah. So lots and lots of results. And then another level of competition here. This would be sort of medium, green tea. So if I did a search for green tea, actually that's still got my wrong address. going to... it's going to the wrong address. Ignore that. So anyway, the fertilizer one there is the one to look at. So that would be probably medium competition, and then you can, if there's less reviews than that and less professional looking listings, then you would make that low competition. But if everybody's got, double or triple figure of reviews, really good quality listings, pages and pages of relevant results, not much irrelevant stuff sneaking through, then that means it's high competition. So when you put it all together, you have now got a way to assess your product. So, we can't teach you everything in half a day around what I've learned in 5 years of selling on Amazon, but I do have a full course that takes you from this stage, which is finding product ideas and assessing them, through to how to work with suppliers. So the way I work with suppliers is very different from how most people do it. I don't just inquire on Alibaba and ask for a quote in the minimum order quantity. I form partnerships, and I want exclusive partnerships, and I set that structure up quite differently. And then we've got all the shipping and logistics. You want to get some really good advice as you do that, because getting that wrong can be very, very expensive. You can get kind of fined if you've done it wrong, like haven't got the right paperwork, but also that sort of decision making about air versus sea shipping. And I can recommend companies to use that I use myself as freight forwarders. So got shipping to figure out still, writing really good listings, all the Amazon advertising, how to do a launch, how to do the private labeling, working with the designers and the branding and the packaging, what else do we cover? How to scale, so how to expand your brand, how to sell your business, which I've done twice, how to source from trade shows, which is something I do a lot of. So there's a lot of other stuff beyond choosing and assessing the product. So you're off to a good start. You've got some ideas there on how to find a winning Amazon product. If you want to join me for the rest of my training around working with suppliers and scaling and launching and selling your business, then have a look at the emails that come along with this training, and you can opt in for some extra support from me and my team to help you build a successful Amazon business and maybe even one day sell it, which is pretty fun. So I will leave you there, and good luck product hunting. I found it really fun. I don't see this as work. I find it like a big treasure hunt. There's so many gems out there that you've got to, dig around a bit, and it's not going to be $1 million product on day one. But if you do the work the right way, you're smart about your criteria, you keep clear of the high competition areas, you play a long and a big game rather than trying to make a quick buck and fly-by-night kind of approaches, trying to hack the Amazon algorithm or buy reviews. There's a lot of people doing quite dodgy stuff on Amazon that is not going to work for them long-term. Amazon's going to close those people down. So do it the right way. Everything I teach is 100% within Amazon's terms of service. I am very skeptical of the accuracy of some of these research tools, which is why I assess my products the way I've shown you today. Amazon is the safest source of information about what's selling and what products are what. So use that as your main base for your research, but you can duck in and out of merchant words or helium 10 just to get some extra numbers as well. So thanks very much. I really enjoy talking to people about finding Amazon products and showing you exactly how I research opportunities. If I hadn't been recording this and doing it as a teaching demo, I would now be hitting Google to find some Orchid fertilizer private label sellers and looking to start a new product line. So there's loads and loads of products out there. Stumble across them every day when you know what you're looking for, but you need to have confidence and a method and a strategy that's going to lead you to profitable sales, not just sort of spinning on the spot. So that's what I love helping people do. So if you want some help from me, get in touch, and would love to see you in the full program. So thank you again, and good luck out there, and hopefully see some of you in the full program and help you scale your business to the next level. So thanks very much. Bye.